Hey, I'm David Cloninger with the State Newspaper. This is Josh Kendall with the State Newspaper. We're wrapping up South Carolina's appearance at SEC Media Days 2015. Josh, we just got done talking with Steve Spurrier and all his players, and seemed like a head ball coach, even at age 70, looks pretty enthused and pretty energetic to get this season started.
He was, and he was bolder, I think is the word I was looking for, than I thought he was going to be today. I think that I expected him, and this is probably silly of me, to come in here a little bit sheepish, a 7-6 season, a lot of question marks about the 2015 season, and he didn't. He came right out and, he threw a few zingers at Tennessee and Arkansas. He said, that he feels like they've got a fighting chance to be right back as a 10-11 win team. So I thought that was a good sign for South Carolina. I thought that just quick, immediate impression that he changed some opinions in the room about his team. I think people are a little bit more optimistic about South Carolina than they were coming into the day because Steve Spurrier looks a little more optimistic than maybe we thought he'd be. That's not going to help them when they start playing football, but it is talking season, but he talked good today. Talked a little bit about quarterbacks. Did you take anything out of that? I mean, were you surprised by what he said? Did you read anything between those lines?
Well, Josh, it's kind of been our opinion, and the preseason depth chart at least backed us up, that Connor Mitch is the guy. Well, Spurrier said, no, that's not the case, and he said point blank, we don't have a starting quarterback yet, and we're not going to know one until the preseason. And, I think that really opens the door for a Perry Orth or a Michael Scarnecchia to take some strides. I mean, Lorenzo Nunez was mentioned. He was mentioned as a lot more of his running ability than his passing ability. But, I asked him in one of the side rooms there, do you have kind of an in case of emergency break glass situation to put Pharaoh Cooper out there under center? And he said, well, I don't know if I'd say that, but yeah, I mean, we know what he can do with the ball in his hand. So the quarterback situation, probably the biggest question going into preseason camp. We'll just have to see how it goes. But Josh, with Steve Spurrier overall, he said that the team was overhyped last year because they were picked to win the East, but yet when the preseason All-SEC teams came out, there was one player on the third team, all defensive, when Bryson Williams. And he said, how do they think we're going to win this thing? Of course, you're not going to be thinking about that at the time, but then we see how the defense played. So you look at it this year, and I agreed with him. A 7-6 bowl win season in South Carolina should never be discounted. Obviously, it's not as good as when you win 11-2 3 straight years. But 7-6, and Steve Spurrier made that point, that's a good season at South Carolina. Josh, do you think if they were to go 7-6 again, maybe an 8-5, that's still a great year considering all the questions this year?
I think it's a good year considering the questions, considering the schedule you've got to play. Maybe the most interesting thing I heard today was Pharaoh Cooper saying, we're at South Carolina, we're not a 7-6 team. That's not good enough. And I think that is a remarkable statement to what has happened in the last 5 or 10 years.
Even 5 years ago, you would have said, I'd love to be 7-6.
Because historically, that wasn't, was a good season. That was what South Carolina was. So, that to me, I caught myself thinking at the time, he doesn't have any understanding of the the first 100 years of South Carolina football, and as a South Carolina football person, you think that's great. It's amazing that we've changed the complexion of this thing in such a short period of time. So now they've got to go out and prove that they're not a 7-6 team if that's what they think. Because like you say, you not necessarily need to hang your head about 7-6 with this team going into this schedule. I think there are a lot of toss-up games on that schedule. You got to go out there and finish better than you did in 2014.
Yeah, absolutely, Josh. And obviously, there's a long ways to go. We're in mid-July right now, and you never know how you're going to play against LSU or Florida or even Clemson down the road. You just have to realize that with this season, the common themes are going to be who's going to play quarterback. Is your defense going to be better, which I think it has to be better because it really couldn't be much worse.
Hard to be.
And how are they going to navigate this extremely tough schedule? Of course, we'll be bringing you all that news throughout the season. And right now we're still on the countdown for Spurrier's media golf outing in a couple of weeks. And then we'll have a couple more things. Camp starts August 4th. We hope to see you there. I'm David Cloninger. He's Josh Kendall with the State Newspaper. We'll see you out there.